let's start by hearing a little bit. So, irdagan yevsenam hai iosam, en si yev kangam hai achtam, ostirang nangt emalyang dubang achtam, emal kire yev hunam hai kelayam, at emalyang burn deep hai kire yev sia akoi. So spring is here, it's green and warm outside. This year the berries are big and tasty. Ket people like to eat cloudberries. This is a small yellow berry. I don't eat cloudberries, but it's my wish to try them. I don't know how to do a present perfect yet, so I can't say I haven't eaten. Anyway, so here's a great picture of some three old traditional Ket guys hanging out. Cool. Anyway, we're going to learn about Ket. We're going to learn about Ket, the language that we're talking about today. I haven't even said what Ket is yet. It's a language. Okay. Yeniseian is the language family to which Ket belongs, and Na-Dene is the language macro family to which Ket is probably distantly related. We're going to talk about the verb in these language families, especially in Ket, and how it fits into the larger family context. We're going to talk about suffixing agglutinative influence, okay? So Ket has been surrounded for many centuries by typologically different language. We're going to talk about that. And then we're going to look at shared morphosyntactic hierarchy in Ket and Na-Dene. There's been lots of good morphosyntactic work done on Na-Dene in recent decades, and we're going to see how we can apply that good work to Ket. All right. So here's a little about Ket. If anyone's ever been around me longer than 30 seconds, they'll know most of this stuff already. Here's a map of Siberia. Different languages, indigenous languages of Siberia. Here's Ket right in the middle. Notice it's surrounded by other language families, right? And these are the more recent arrivals in the last several thousand years following the domestication of the reindeer. Okay, so we have languages like Evenki. So this is related to well, it's a Tungusic language. It belongs to the same language family as the Manchu, who ruled the last imperial Chinese dynasty famously. We have languages like Buryat related to Mongolian, the Mongolic language family, Turkic languages, and Uralic languages, famously, of course, distantly related to Hungarian and Finnish. Ket is a Neo-Siberian language. It is spoken by the people who lived in the area prior to the expansion of pastoralist reindeer herders. The language is typologically very different. Okay, it's kind of like a bunch of these Paleo-Siberian type languages got spilled over into the Western Hemisphere. They really seem a lot more like indigenous North American languages, and that's really what happened in terms of human migration. So we have a hypothesized common Dene-Yeniseian genealogical linguistic stock. It is widely, but not universally, accepted, okay? It is, however, mainstream among Deneis. Not every Deneis accepts it. Most that I know do. In fact, I think maybe all that have an opinion that I know do. But it's at any rate becoming more accepted. The relationship could be typological rather than, oh, that's how not this one. Okay, genealogical. Good. If you've seen any of my presentations before, you know this fish. This is the verb fish. Here's the verb stem. This is the anchor of the verb. Okay, we have a bipartite structure. So, well, I should start with polysynthetic prefixing classificatory. So, it's polysynthetic. You can have as much information for a sentence as you need in here. Prefixing, there's this complex of prefix slots, this templatic slotting prefix system, right? Leading up to what we call the verb stem. Here he calls it a base, same thing. I mean, if you've ever worked with Dene languages, this looks very familiar to you. The one thing that Yeniseian languages like Ket, Yeniseian is the language family named for the Yenisei River of central Siberia, I should say. Sorry, I'm trying to go quick. There's a lot of information here. The one thing you'll notice that's different about the Yeniseian verb from the Na-Dene verb is that the Yeniseian verb does not have what's called a classifier prefix. It does have something cognate to that, but that's one thing that is worth thinking about. Again, bipartite. So we got a prefix string plus the stem. There are two parts to the prefix string, and this is what trips a lot of people up. A lot of people end up thinking that the verb is tripartite. As far as I can tell, it's two parts with the second part divided into another two. So we've got the stem, then what we've got is the disjunct and conjunct. Okay, so there's the more semantically and phonologically distant string of prefixes with this little invisible boundary connecting to a more closely related string to the stem. That's the disjunct and the conjunct. Okay. Disjunct boundary at the incorporate, both in Yeniseian languages like Ket and in Na-Dene languages like Navajo or Gwich'in. Let's see. Different manifestations of this same system, the same verb complex. I mean, it's really remarkable in across Dene and Yeniseian, Tlingit, Gwich'in, Navajo, and Ket. Completely beyond coincidence, Lyle Campbell thinks it is, but sorry, Lyle. It's I think of I have this affectionate imagining of him as some kind of Dene-Yeniseian supervillain. But anyway, yeah. Uh, at any rate, so this is what a Dene-Yeniseian, three Dene-Yeniseian verbs. Okay, so we've got of course the bilbet. So I did literally I did or made, that is I put up they call it course, which is like a birch bark teepee. More recently canvas. Um, let's see. So let's look at how this verb works. We have the de il bet. So this is our verb stem, right? If take a look at this one, don il bet. Okay. Notice here the noun is not incorporated. The object is not incorporated. Here the object is. Don il bet. I have a knife, or I had, excuse me, a knife, past tense. Okay. So we've got this noun that gets incorporated into the disjunct of the verb. And we're talking now about derivation rather than inflection, therefore. This is Gwich'in. This is a Dene language, not Yeniseian. It's not Ket. This is Gwich'in. These ladies have their Gwich'in flag out, which, gosh, that's a, anyway, it's kind of pricey, but anyway, so directional incorporates going into the incorporates directional and aspectual derivational prefixes go into the disjunct here in the same place that a nominal incorporate would go in Ket. Okay, let's see. Now, verb complex. Notice here, okay, a cool little map of the Na-Dene language family. But anyway, right, look at this, okay? It all lines up, right? Look at that. Isn't that cool? Disjunct, jeshabobry. Conjunct, stem. Notice this is kind of this one part, two parts. Now, I think there are some guys who are drawing the bipartite line after disjunct, and then they're saying conjunct plus stem. Are you familiar with that? It could be. I don't know, but this is what I'm used to. Yeah. This is what I'm used to. A verb theme. Okay, so this is how we map the verb. The verb theme is the formula that we use to make any possible form that we want of this verb. Okay, let's see. So for many centuries, thousands of years now, Yeniseian, again, the language family to which Ket belongs, has been surrounded by these suffixing agglutinative languages. They're not polysynthetic. They're languages like Mongolian, languages like Evenki, languages like Selkut, these Neosiberian, I like to call them, languages, as opposed to Ket's Paleosiberian, right? Let's see. And really what we're looking at is these incoming reindeer herding pastoralists. And not only that, we have these people interacting together and marrying into each other's families. So for centuries and centuries, we have these women marrying into Ket families who natively speak these languages like Selkup or Hakka, some of these Siberian Turkic languages, or Evenki. And as a result, these suffixing agglutinative qualities get shoved into the Dene-Yeniseian verb complex. And the verb stem kind of gets reduced to this verb marker, this grammaticalization verb marker. But it's still a bipartite. You can still see the string and the stem latching onto each other. It's like cool robot arms or something attaching. It's interesting stuff. I like to imagine that this is a cute little baby reindeer I met when I was in northern Mongolia. And I like to imagine some ancient Yeniseian speaker met some cute little reindeer and thought, well, that's okay. Maybe I can take on a little of their linguistic typology. So here's what we're looking at. I think I showed this to a few people. Verb words today have this P7, position 7, noun incorporate, okay? So, sirakada, this is I study. Interesting, this is borrowed from Mongolian, surah. Sirakada. So this is the head, the semantic head of the word, even though da, where is it? Extend is the verb stem, right? So it's been reduced to this little grammatical suffix. And there we go. Okay, now let's look at this shared hierarchy, okay? The verb complex that we've seen right now, back with the 8 positions, right? We've got the Dene verb complex here, beautifully done, all 30-some slots, if anyone wants to take a look at it. Lower 10 in a dictionary, good book. This is a 2-dimensional verb complex. There's a whole 3rd dimension behind it. You see the slots here, right? And behind here, there's this whole thing going on, right? I have this is the pan-northern Dene constellation that was recently discussed in some papers by a colleague I've met, Chris Cannon. Are you familiar? Yeah, good stuff. Yeah. Anyway, the reason I have the constellation here is to remind me that when we look up into the stars, right, the dimmer star might be closer and the brighter star might be farther away, right? Same thing's happening in this process of derivation and inflection. I also like to imagine atoms, molecules binding to each other, right? Into an element or something like that. And I think that's crazy that I'm thinking about STEMmy science stuff with Dene-Yeniseian, but here we are. Okay, and let's see. Yeah, okay, Commander Worf came up with the bipartite model. He came up with stem operator. Operators is the derivational string, or the prefix string, and he talked about interrupted synthesis. So this model whereby these different bits of information interrupt the formation of the word and kind of stick themselves into it. Look at this. Following the interrupted synthesis model, and this is what happens when you try to get this 3rd dimension into a flowchart, right? So we've got theme, derivation, inflection, okay? Let's see. Yeah. Okay, the verb theme unlocks this morphosyntactic filter that it goes through, okay? So you can have verb themes, they usually have either an incorporate or a thematic prefix, which is different from a Dene thematic prefix. That's cognate, I think, to the qualifier. Yeah. Anyway, let's see. Good. Corporate object semantically limited by theme. Yes, and look at this. This is something called distributed morphology that we learned about in morphology class this semester. So these morphosyntactic features get kind of stuck onto the theme as it gradually builds up, right? And these features, these lexical semantic units aren't contained in this lexicon, abstract lexicon. They're contained in the syntax. And during this temporal process, they kind of get bundled on, and you end up with these bundles of features. So that's kind of, and that looks like what Worf was describing with interrupted synthesis. It's the same thing. And if you can do it with Dene, you can do it with Ket. I have a few examples here that I talk about, but I don't have time to go through them right now. But let's see. It's been in place for this process, this interrupted synthesis process, bipartite linking process. It's been in place for a long time, probably 7,000 years. Older, because it was in place at that time, right? Let's see. Okay, it is true that the process of Stem, theme, derivation, inflection. This looks pretty universal grammar to me. How universal is this process? Well, just to compare another Siberian polysynthetic language, Nivk, right, has its own process of, they call it dependent head synthesis, but it's not the same kind of rigid thematic prefixing style. It's not the same material, the same kind of material allowed in the verb complex. It's just not like Dene-Yeniseian. It's a very specific process that Dene-Yeniseian has. The same model and format work for introverb hierarchy in both Dene and Yeniseian. Let's see. Uat baklak hai adank achtam. So you listen to me, and it's good for me. So questions, please.
First two are
Ket Guchin.
So the fact that the noun incorporation and the directional thing are both at the left edge.
Yeah, they're in the disjunct, and interestingly enough, the incorporate slot is right there at the disjunct boundary in both Dene and Yeniseian. It's in the same place.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is evidence for them being related.
Well, I mean, it kind of seems like it. Yeah, it sure don't hurt. Yeah. Yeah.
Or I think I'm just not sure what disjunct boundary is.
Right. So the disjunct boundary is this extra less semantically close chunk of morphemes at the left end of the verb, and it gets, what I think happens is there's this stem floating around that gets sucked into the word vacuum, and then a theme gets joined onto that, and the theme unlocks access to the various disjunct prefixes. I think that's what happens. So the theme and the disjunct are kind of slightly connected to each other. The conjunct, which is part of the theme, grabs onto, and the stem grab onto each other, and then that link kind of goes through to the disjunct prefixes, which could be, as we say, directional or incorporate. Yeah. That's the disjunct boundary. Well, in some languages, vowels harmonize. For example, in Gwich'in, vowels harmonize in the conjunct, but not the disjunct.
Okay, they can't harmonize across them.
Exactly. So that's just one example. Right. Ket does not harmonize, I don't think. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Anybody else? So, yes. Certainly.
The other direction happened?
Yes. Okay, so the Mongolian word for birch tree probably comes from Yeniseian. Let's see, the interest. Yeah, there are occasional little words sneaking into Mongolian, which is the Neosiberian language, and okay, so the Mongolian word Genghis Khan, Khan is the word, right? Khan. It probably comes from an ancient Yeniseian word meaning big man. Probably. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right, so we do have a break scheduled as well, so I encourage you to ask questions at break, and we'll hopefully have a little time to
do that
afterwards. So for now, let's
thank you so much. Yeah. But yeah, mostly going into the pastoralist languages, I think it's mostly just loan words, little stuff like that.